Welcome to the BALD TRUTH Leadership Podcast, where you get straightforward, no-nonsense ideas on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. It's brought to you by the Chief Coaching Officer of the Peak Performance Group. He's also a brilliant and successful serial entrepreneur. He's a two-time author. He's a certified executive coach. He's a sales genius. He's bald.
Hey now.
And he's your host of the BALD TRUTH Leadership Podcast. Buckle your chin strap. Here's your host, Coach Rick Colster.
Hey, welcome to the BALD TRUTH Leadership Podcast. I'm Coach Rick, your host, and you can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, YouTube video. Subscribe and like, folks. Make sure you get every single episode. Today, the BALD TRUTH is about leadership, and I've got probably one of the leading experts right now with us today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Today, we are going to talk about she's a very special person. I don't even know how to say it because I'm almost in like fanboying it today, because this lady has got me fanboying all over the place here. She is got a background that backs up what she does today. A 3-time Olympian in the biathlon, now a professional 3-gun competitor. And y'all all know, some of you don't, some of you do. I'm also a firearms instructor, so I like to get out and compete. But I've seen this lady shoot, and she beat my ass every single time, that's for sure. She and her twin sister, imagine 2, that's like happy hour, 2 for the price of 1, are world changers. And that's what I really liked about her. They're selfless human beings, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. And they give back in many ways. And we're really going to dig into that a little bit. Recently, I ran into her at the USCC Expo in Fort Worth, and she was gracious enough to chat and talk. She was sharing wisdom with everybody out there. Got a pretty cool picture, so check Instagram. I got a great picture of her up there. And, well, the rest is history, as they say. One thing to take away from this: if you never ask, you'll never get. I met her and I said, hey, would you like to be on the podcast? And she graciously said yes. So she's now teaches courses to the military, law enforcement, competitive shooters on how to shoot under stress, and especially with that elevated heart rate. So when you're going to get into something, it's going to be elevated. We're going to talk about that too. She and her sister started Top Shooting Institute, the TOP Shooting Institute. She's a prolific speaker to schools, 4-H clubs, other organizations for young people about going for your dreams. And you talk about an Olympian, going for your dreams, setting goals and staying healthy. That's my kind of person, I got to tell you. She shares her shooting on Instagram account. So go now, follow her. We're going to give you her account. Welcome to the BALD TRUTH, Lanny Barnes, a.k.a. Lanny Oakley. Welcome to the BALD TRUTH, Lanny.
Coach Rick, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
Oh my God, like I said, if you don't ask, you'll never get. And that's something that if you take nothing away today, take that away. It's so cool. Because I've been following you on Instagram because, it's either my Instagram is either my friends or somebody shooting something. It's got to be. That's my IG. That's my who I follow. And I'll tell you what. And when somebody said, hey, you got to follow this gal, I said, all right, that's cool. And then I ran into you and I saw you speak. And that was really something really cool. I watched you on platform speaking. And as a professional speaker myself, it was really interesting. You were so that's where you belong. You did. You killed it.
It's speaking is one of those things, I think, for a lot of people that it doesn't come natural. Some people are naturally good speakers, but for me, I was one of those goofy kids that really hated getting up in front of people, was really shy, had a hard time getting out of my shell. And through my experiences over the years with Olympics and being forced in front of monster crowds and things like that, I kind of was forced to get out of my shell and learn how to overcome a lot of those fears and things like that.
Well, I think that's something everybody wants to, and everyone, our listeners, what they all want to know is how do you overcome some of these things? And that's a great way to start. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I gave you that cool intro. You're an Olympian. You've got a twin sister in the biathlon, and that's skiing and shooting, right?
Correct. Yeah. Cross country skiing and shooting. Yep.
So that's pretty, Bear, I'm not a skier. I'm a warm weather guy. You put me on the beach, I'm happy. But don't put me in the mountains skiing, because I'm a wimp when it comes to cold.
Yeah. So they say that biathlon is probably one of the hardest Olympic sports out there, because not only are we using our upper and lower body, but we're also carrying weight on our back, which is our firearm, and we're in extremely cold temperatures too. So we burn more calories in our races and events than do any other Olympic sport out there. So it's actually very, very challenging.
I love that. And it's, getting to that. And when you talk about stress levels, there's got to be some stress going to the Olympics. So you went 3 times. So what Olympics? I'm looking behind you. You've got some Olympian stuff back there. So tell us about going to the Olympics.
Yeah, so for me, I think my twin sister and I, and even our older sister, when we first saw the Olympics on TV, I think that was when it just captivated us. We're like, we're gonna go. And at the time, we had just jumped into soccer, and we thought, well, let's go for soccer, because I think that was when we saw the U.S. women's team win the World Cup for the first time, or the World Cup and the Olympics, and we're just fascinated, and we thought we want to be there. And so we started training hard for soccer and things like that, and we did a lot of different activities. But when we jumped into high school, we were looking for ways of staying in shape for soccer in the winter, because back then there weren't a lot of options. There wasn't a lot of indoor soccer, and there was snow everywhere. So some guy told us about biathlon, and we thought, well, we hunt, and it's basically a form of hunting on skis. That's how it originated. So it might be kind of fun and a great way of staying in shape. So we jumped into it and absolutely fell in love with it. And I think we fell in love with it not because it was just a cool sport, which it is, but we fell in love with it because it was so incredibly hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, what a challenge. And you've become an expert in high performance competition. Your Olympic background is really going to help you do that, or getting to the Olympics, but you had to be pretty competitive growing up as well. I got to imagine. So high performance competition, how do you plan for that? And then I got a second follow-up question after that.
High performance competition, it's something that you kind of build yourself up to. So it's not like you just wake up one morning and say, well, I'm going to jump into the Olympics today. So it's a series of building up to big competitions. But for a lot of people, you jump into kind of a major event in your life, whether it's, running a marathon for the first time, or doing public speaking where you're forced to do it in front of a big group that you've never talked to before, or taking on a new job or things like that. Getting into it is, I'd say 90% mental. Obviously biathlon was very, very physical sport, physically demanding, but because of that, it was more mentally demanding. And any sort of big competition, you have to learn how to handle it emotionally and mentally, and become really strong mentally.
Yeah, and that's the interesting part, I think, is and one topic I think we always seem to circle back to here on the Bald Truth is mindset. It's really, what's the mindset, and why it's so critical in competitions, in life, and in business as well. So why do you think that is, and how do you grab that and make sure you have that right mindset?
Right. Yeah. So I think as human beings, we have a lot of faults. We tend to worry about things. We tend to overanalyze. Our emotions get in the way. And emotions are great because they give us better experiences when we allow our emotions to be positive. But it also can give us negative experiences as well if we let it overtake us. So basically, mental training and becoming strong mentally, in my opinion, is really, really simple and easy. The idea behind it and how to do it is simple. It's just that our mind gets in the way and doesn't let us get to that point. But so really, if we simplify it, our mind can only think of one thing at a time. We think that we can multitask by doing a lot of different things. And really it's our mind thinking of one thing and then subconsciously doing another thing from muscle memory, So if we think about being hungry, we're going to be hungry. If we think about being cold, if we think about being angry or, all those types of things, we're going to have that emotion. So as long as you can learn how to control that one emotion that your mind is thinking about at the time, it's really easy. So learning how to control that one thought. When you wake up in the morning, you have a choice. You can say this is going to be a great day, or you can say this is going to be a bad day. And we always have a choice to decide that when we get up, because we don't know what that day is going to bring. If we wake up tired and we're like, oh, this day's going to just suck because I don't feel good. I want to roll back over and sleep for another hour, but I can't. If we just jump out of bed and be like, you know what? Today's going to be a great day. You're already starting off on a good foot. It's going to be a lot more positive than if you start out being like, today's going to be awful because I'm too tired.
Well, I love that. You nailed it. My wife is going to listen to this. I got to tell you, because I was telling her the other day, we try to walk every day, and it's a great time for exercise. We get out, we have a nice brisk pace. But we also talk a lot. And she was talking about my multitasking. And I said, ain't no damn thing. Well, you can do one thing at a time. Your brain doesn't know how to do more than one thing at a time. No, I can multitask. Baloney. And now you proved it to me. Good. And I always like to say, you can choose in the morning. You can choose to wake up and be happy, or you can choose to wake up and be crappy. Your choice. It takes the same amount of energy to do that. And you're absolutely right with that mindset. Is how do we do it? It's easy to say, but it's the implementation to do that. Yeah. So mindset, and let's talk about business. So you've transitioned from not only a competitive athlete when you compete now in 3-gun, but also you're in business as well. So how do you take that and now take that mindset and move that into the business world today, which is where most of our listeners are really going to be?
Yeah. It's actually the same thing. I mean, like I said earlier, no matter what you're doing in your life, if you're preparing for a big presentation, if you're trying to get a promotion at work, if you're just every day trying to do something, you can take that mindset, that positive attitude, and apply it to anything that you're doing. You don't have to be an Olympian to be strong mentally, and I always tell people you can be an Olympian in life. And the idea behind that is, as long as you put in your best effort and work as hard as you possibly can and have a positive attitude, to me, you're an Olympian in life. And that's pretty much what being an Olympian is just those 3 things. And so, I went from being an Olympic athlete where I was devoting 24 hours a day to being the best I could possibly be for the United States of America. And then I jumped into shooting competitions where I was representing companies. And then I'm also training military and law enforcement around the country and civilians as well. And then I'm also the director of law enforcement and military sales for High-Vis. And I'm an artist and public speaker. And I do all these different things, but whatever you commit yourself to, you have to commit 100%. Life is so incredibly short. And if we waste that time, we're going to get to the end and be like, you know what? I really wish I would put a little bit more effort into that. Yeah. Because we only have so much time to make a difference.
Yeah. Don't wish your life away. People like wish, do. And that's where, I wrote a book called Roll Up Your Sleeves and Get to Work. And that's really what it is. It's about action, taking action to do the things you want to do, knowing what you want to do, getting the right mindset, and then really going after it. And you're absolutely right when you talk about that mindset, and it's about when the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Yeah. Let's get down what actions you need to take to get the success that you need in business. None of us want to get out of bed. Hell, my bed's comfy. My wife and I go, this is our favorite place, not for any other reason other than sleeping, but it is just, it's a great place to be, a little cocoon. Yeah. But you got to get up and you got to do something and make, you're here for a purpose. And we are all designed for a purpose. And whatever it is, God put us here for a reason. I don't know what it is, or I hope that you do. as an individual. I don't know what anyone else's is. I know what mine is. But when you know that purpose and then you wake up for a reason to do that, and now you have a reason. So that's the cool side. So I want to talk about the Olympics a little bit more because I'm really curious about the Olympics. You and your sister are both competitors. And I don't know if any of our listeners know that. You and your sisters both went to the Olympics, didn't you?
We did, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. How many times?
I went a total of 3 times, and thanks to my twin sister who gave me her spot at the last Olympics. Otherwise,
So
it would have been 2.
What a selfless act. And she's your twin sister. And like you said earlier before the show, you said you've got, being a twin really has helped shape you. How's being a twin shaped you into who you are today?
It's made me think about and do everything in my life differently, because from the moment I came out, which was a big surprise to my parents because they didn't know they were having 2,
Oh, no.
to where I'm at now, I've always had to think of someone else.
Okay.
And put that person first. And so it's changed my thinking. Instead of thinking about me, I'm thinking about other people, and I've translated that into everything in my life. And it's the same for my twin sister, like together. So it wasn't, what am I going to do today or what am I going to accomplish? It's what are we going to accomplish?
That's so cool. And that is the total principle of our leadership program at the Peak Performance Group is servant leadership. And that's thinking of others before yourself. And I love that. So and since we're focused on leadership at the BALD Truth, and you just nailed servant leadership, and I love the way you put it, you have to think about someone else. You've been leading, and I think it was, like you said, I had to think of someone else. You were doing it subconsciously or unconsciously. You were exhibiting servant leadership on that. How is that important now where you're at today, and how it's gotten you to where you are today, that mindset?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important, because when you work with other people, I think one of the hardest things for people, and especially leaders and people that run different companies and stuff like that, the hardest thing for them is managing people, and that's what you have to do. You have to basically take the time to learn how each individual person operates, because if you take the time to say, okay, well, Sally over here, she struggles because of this, and Jared, he can really be motivated by this. And if you take the time to actually look at those things and how you can help them and apply them and motivate people in the right way, because everybody's different. Everybody is motivated differently and does things differently. So if you take the time to do that, you're going to, not only are they going to be more successful, your company's going to be more successful, and everybody's going to be happy in the long run.
Yeah, and I love that philosophy, and is really looking at that. So that's really a tactical way is really looking at your team as individuals, not as a collective per se, that everybody has to be managed in, this management strategy. It's really being individual and working with them on a one-on-one basis when you're running a team. And you said you're director of sales, so you've obviously have to interact with people, whether it's your entire team, whether it's a manufacturing team. And high vis, I'll tell you what, great sites, by the way. You picked a good company. They are great sites. I absolutely love them. So just as an FYI, so we'll give them a big shout out and give them a little prop there. High vis sites. So check it out, folks. And I'll let Lanny talk about how you can find out more about that as well. But today, I think we're talking about a gap in leadership. This is what I've seen. And I think right now, back in 2008, we had the little recession. We had a badass recession, right? 2008. And we kind of stopped developing leaders because everybody just grabbed the reins and pulled back on the reins and went, whoa, we had rifts, we had all kinds of stuff. We had 2001, 2, and then 2008, and we had a couple of crashes. And what I found is we've got a gap in leadership from, and I'll throw myself under the bus here. I'm the old guy. I'm fixing to retire. I'm 62 years old. And while I'm fit, able, and willing to work, at some point, I want to play with my grandbabies. I want to go lay on the beach and play with my grandbabies and have them climb over me and build sandcastles and stuff. But who's coming up behind us? And I think there's not only a generational gap, there's also a numeric gap. We have less baby boomers than we do Gen Xers, than we do millennials. Millennials are coming back. So you talk about that. There's a gap. And what I'm seeing is either someone's a really great leader or they suck.
Yeah.
And they have to force people to do stuff for them because they've never been taught how to lead, because that mentoring, I think, has left us. So today's leaders, and from your perspective, thinking about others, that servant leadership mindset, what can they do to help really build that relationship with the people around them that they're tasked with leading?
Yeah. Well, I've been, I'll call it a minion for a lot of different leaders and bosses and, coaches and things like that in so many different situations, whether it's the Olympics or, big companies, or even, I've worked with leaders of different countries and all sorts of things, just the huge wide gamut of leaders and bosses. And there's a big difference between someone who leads and a boss. A boss is someone that tells someone to go do something. And a leader is someone that either shows someone by doing it by leading by example, or they give the person the right tools to help them to be able to figure it out and do it on their own, instead of just being like, you got to do this, and not providing the right tools and resources and just saying that's what you have to do, and not this is why, this is how, things like that.
I love that. Explain that out. So, and I think part of that is training. And at the Peak Performance Group, we're a training company. Everybody knows that listens. We're a leadership training company. And I love working with people on whether it's sales leadership, whether it's formal leadership, but really training. And everyone knows us for our leadership thing. But like I mentioned earlier, not a lot of folks know that I'm also a USCCA instructor, as well as one for the state of Texas for LTCs as well, firearms instructor in the state of Texas. Today's world's getting a little scary out there. And you were talking about training a little bit when we were at the USCCA Expo. How critical is it, and what can people do now to train? And I'm going to transition a little bit into the real world today, out of the business world, but into the real world today, to train to keep their edge. And it might be in sales, it might be in self-protection, it might be a lot of things. So what can they do?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, and it doesn't really matter what you're doing, whether it's sales or trying to stay safe while you're out and about with family and friends, or anything in your job or personal or professional life. Staying sharp and staying fresh is really important. Burnout is really easy, especially the younger generations. You get into those younger generations, and they've lived in a time and a situation where they need constant stimuli, and if they don't get it, they get burnt out easy. And that's for people who are employing a lot of younger folks and things like that. That's one thing you have to realize, that those younger generations, their life is in front of the phone or the computer or TV screen, where they're constantly getting instant changing stimuli all the time. And it's a little bit like that for me. I mean, I'm 39 years old, and if I do the same thing over and over, I can discipline myself to do it, but I don't like to do it. I like to have a change in things, and
Sure.
I get more motivated if something's different and exciting and things like that. But it can be the same way same with anything that you're doing. If you change things up and keep setting new goals and trying new things and pushing yourself to try to do better and actually accomplishing those goals, you're going to make a huge difference in not only your life, but the lives of the people around you.
Okay. So now let's talk about firearms training a little bit. Let's talk about training firearms. I mean, you have to practice a lot. If you, and folks, if absolutely positively go on Instagram and find Lanny, was it Lanny _Oakley, right?
Correct. Yeah. Lanny
So
Oakley.
go find it, like her or follow her and watch some of the amazing work that she does. Now, it doesn't come easy, does it?
No, definitely not. I mean, a lot of people will look at what I do and they'll say, "Oh, that's crazy," or unsafe, or things like that. And everything that I do is for a purpose. And there's a specific thing that I'm trying to learn how to do while I'm doing, say, a trick shot or something like that. I've trained at the highest level in sport for my biathlon career in the Olympics. It was over 15 years of pushing myself 24/7 to get to the highest level. And when you do that, it's easy to get burnt out. And so now when I'm trying to improve my shooting and challenge myself, I have to look for new ways of doing that, because I do the regular training that everybody else does, and I put in that time. But in order for me to wake up and want to do it again the next day, I have to find something that's exciting and challenging. So I started doing trick shooting. And one, I just did it for myself, and I'd send it to my twin sister and my family, and they're like, "Oh, that's really cute and fun, whatever." And then people started sharing around. I'm like, well, maybe other people would like to watch. So I started posting them online, and people really enjoyed watching it. But really, the idea is not to get a lot of likes on social media. It's to work on something. Like, let's say I'm unicycling and shooting. The hardest thing to do is to keep moving and shooting, especially when you get to a certain level. And so when you're riding a unicycle, if you don't keep pedaling, the unicycle stops.
Yeah.
So to shoot off of a unicycle, I'm basically training a lot of different things in my mind. One, subconsciously, I want to be able to keep my feet moving so that it doesn't stop, and I can keep pedaling. But two, I really need to focus the mind on one thing, which is the shooting. And so it's basically training the brain to focus on that one thing and subconsciously doing another.
And having a muscle
So
memory.
absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah.
and yes, that's extreme, but um, I want to be able to be the best shooter in any situation, whether it's in a self-defense situation, if it's in competition, no matter what life competition throws at me, I want to be able to hit my target regardless of the situation.
And I love you do that training for law enforcement and military to get them to be able to train with it at elevated heart rate. Now, I've done not a lot, but a little bit of training where I'll run, stop, take a shot, run, stop, drop, do some push-ups, get up, take a shot. And I go to the gym enough, but I'm no Olympic athlete. I readily know who I am. That gets my heart rate. Like, I'm like, okay, now, and trying to settle back in. But that's what's going to happen in a real life situation. Your heart rate's going to go up, your adrenaline's going to go up. And when I talk to students, that's what I say. I said, it's not going to be standing in the stall shooting at paper.
Yeah.
Number one, they're going to be moving. Number two, they might be shooting back. And number three, your adrenaline's going to be through the roof. So all of that is going to contribute. So train. And what's some of your favorite things you do to work on that, so you can stay on track? I love the unicycle. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, that's fun and exciting. I'll shoot upside down. I'll shoot off a yoga ball. I'll shoot from all different weird, awkward positions and at different things, flying in the air and challenging targets and stuff. But I think the thing that the point I'd like to get across to people is that you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to see big improvements in your shooting or whatever you're doing. I mean, training. If you just commit yourself to a little bit of time, and a lot of it's mental training. We say that shooting's 90% mental, and really anything we do in our life is 90% mental. So as long as you learn how to train that mental side of it, you're going to be able to achieve great things by controlling your mind and being better at focusing on that one thing you need to focus on.
Something just popped into my head here, and as we do here on the Bald Truth, just whatever pops in my head, that's what I talk about. And this is, I'm staying away from not being sexist or any kind of prejudice, but most shooters, you don't see a lot of female shooters. Bottom line, it just is what it is. And most ladies, and I've trained a number of women, they're maybe a little nervous about it. How can you talk to some of the ladies that may be listening, or maybe the husbands or spouses of some ladies where they may have that nervousness around a firearm? What could you tell them that would maybe take that edge off or give them a little bit of peace? Because you're one of the best in the world, and it's, to you, this is normal.
Yeah, well, it's no different than getting up and public speaking. I had a major fear of that when I was little, and I overcame it. But and shooting is no different. You're basically putting a small explosion, like if you're shooting handgun, you're putting a small explosion right in front of your face, and that goes against all of our natural instincts. We want to flinch, we want to back up. It's not something that is naturally bred into us. We have to, especially for women, because there's just not as many now. There's a lot more, but when I was a kid, I thought my twin sister and I and my older sister, I thought we were the only female hunters out there in the world. And granted, I realized there were plenty more of us out there, and there's a lot more now, but there weren't as many opportunities to shoot firearms, and my dad had 3 girls. Thankfully he took us out, and I keep asking him, Dad, had you had a son, would you have taken us girls out? And he, of course, he says yes, but you just never know, because in his family, he had, a sister, and she never was able to go on any of the hunts. It's just how it was. And not that it's a sexist thing or anything, but that's just how it was. And so for women that are nervous about it, or husbands that have wives that are nervous about shooting, when you go out and shoot, make that first experience a good one. Learn how to focus on that one thing. Don't go out and shoot a 357. Start out with a 22 or even airsoft, and make it fun and exciting, and then work your way up. Don't have to start out with the biggest bang out there. The more you do it, the more you experience it, the easier it becomes. So when you go out there, focus on that one thing, and that one thing should be your front sight, and it won't be as bad of experience.
Yeah, look, I'm a dad. I'm a girl dad too. I got 5 between my wife and I. There's 5 girls, and all of them, I've taken them all shooting with me. Matter of fact, my youngest, she's kind of my mini me. She was actually with me at the USCCA show when we met, and she's as excited about that as I am. I take her shooting all the time, and she really gets into it. So yeah, there's so much fun to be had, and there's not the fear. It's only fear if you make it fearful. So if you're listening, folks, it's make it fun. Follow that first thing, and make it enjoyable. And guys, don't let them shoot the 50 cal the first time out. Come on. Just because you got that big gun that, you don't have to take it out. Make it fun, make it enjoyable, and all that. So, all right. So how can people get a hold of you, Lanny? How can people get a hold of you?
They can contact me on social media or my website, lannyoakley.com.
Excellent. So, all right, last thing, and by the way, check her out on social media, folks. Just absolutely do it. And her website, check it out. It's a great site, really informational, and she's got some good tips on there. There's a lot of stuff about shooting. She writes a really cool blog on different stuff. So get out there and check it out. Get some stuff. So I always do this for all my guests, and I like to throw you a curveball. Are you ready for a curveball?
Shoot.
Ah, shoot. I like that. Nice. Yeah, there's a pun. All right. So I've got 3 questions I want to ask you, and it's going to make you think. This is like you're on an Olympic event and somebody throws you a curveball. All of a sudden, you slide off the track or on your skis or something gets thrown, right?
Yeah, been there.
Here's what we're going to do. 3 questions. Easy, simple, nothing to it. You got this. You're holding a dinner party for 6, yourself is included. So you get to invite 5 people. You get to invite 5 people, but here's a caveat. They could be anybody in all of history, alive or dead. And you get to invite them to this dinner, and you're holding this dinner party. Who do you invite and why?
Anybody in history. I think that would take some time to think about that, to create a guest list. But I think to start out, I would say Mia Hamm. She's a famous soccer player.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely admired her growing up. One thing, and the reason why is because she was an incredible role model. Back then, I think she focused on just being a good, positive role model and not all the other hoopla that professional athletes do these days. I think probably the rest of them would be people that I know personally.
Bring it on. You got the Jeopardy theme is playing. Come on.
Okay, so the second one would be Marsha Petrie-Sue. So she's like you. She's a public. She travels around the world to talk to different companies about leadership and things like that. She's really helped kind of shape who I am too. I've learned a lot from her.
Good.
I'd invite my dad.
Oh, good.
He taught me early on that you could be you could be good at a lot of things or great at one thing. And that was probably the biggest thing that I learned from him. And I absolutely love that because when I was a kid, I wanted to do everything. And he said, you can, but you could be good at them, but you could be great at one thing. Really good lesson. And then my mom, because she's an incredible role model. She was a teacher for almost 30 years and taught the next generation. She was very hard and difficult. And some students hated her because she was challenging and hard. She pushed them. But a lot of the ones that she pushed came back later and thanked her for pushing them that hard.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. And then probably I'd say the 5th one would be my high school coach, Ron Klatt, Nordic ski coach.
Oh.
And, because he was just an incredible person and he saw in me what I didn't see in myself. And just was a great role model. To me, I don't have yes, I look up to a lot of celebrities and athletes and things like that. But I think majority of the people that I looked up to, most people could just consider everyday normal folks because they aren't celebrities or anything like that. I think you can learn something from anybody. You can be inspired by anybody. It's just a matter of if you take the time to get to know them and what they can contribute to this world.
Superb. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's cool. So second question, that was great answers. An article's being written about you after you're gone. What's the title? Not what's in it, but what's the title, the headline?
Probably She Didn't Quit.
Oh, I love it. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. So finally, what do you do every morning to set yourself up for success? And this is a good one for our listeners. What do you do each morning to set yourself up for success?
That's super simple. I wake up at least a couple minutes before my alarm because I hate alarms, turn it off and jump out of bed. I don't think about it. I don't lay there and say 5 more minutes or hit the snooze button. I jump out of bed immediately and get after it.
Awesome. Good stuff. Lanny, thank you for spending some time with us today. I know this is going to be one of my best so far. I love this. You're more than I ever hoped I could have in someone with the Bald Truth. And I value this and look forward to continuing our discussions in the future as well and running into each other. It's great. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and let's do it again sometime.
All right, folks. This has been a good one. Wow. I'm putting this one up in the top 5 at least, if not 3. We'll see. I like it. You got to listen to this one for sure, folks. Thanks for listening in. Lanny Oakley, check her out on her social media. Check her out. This lady is amazing. So check it out and let's have fun. Folks, I'm Coach Rick, and that's the Bald Truth.
You've been listening to The Bald Truth with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group, the company that helps people and organizations reach their potential. If you're looking for a way to grow your organization, whether it's sales or strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group coaches can help you grow with their proven business acceleration process. Call them at 817-748-7425 or go to mypotentialplus.com and they'll connect you with the right coach for you. And remember to subscribe and like below. The Bald Truth Leadership Podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, and YouTube video. Hit like and subscribe to get every episode. Thanks for listening to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast. And until next time, roll up your sleeves and get to work, and you can make things happen.
I'm Coach Rick, and that's the Bald Truth.